everyone, guys, girls, friends, families, haters, dogs, cats, gerbils, kids in the back of the car, and the people on the bus hearing this when you accidentally play it out loud. I'm Rach.
And I'm Faith. Welcome to the Is It Normal podcast.
We love it that you're here. Episode 5, baby!
Here we are, episode 5.
And again. I love this for us. So, let's get into it.
Yeah.
We obviously like to ramble, so we're just going to go straight into the things that we do at the start, which is the show and tell.
Show and tell.
Yes.
You go. I'm genuinely so excited about my show and tell, so you go first because I want to build the suspense.
Okay, I really hate that, but whatever. I'm just going to read you a quote. I really haven't got the whole handle of this show and tell thing. I feel like every week is like... One week is like, it's so emotional. And the next week is like, happies. And then the next week is like, I tried to balance it a bit this week. So, shock horror, I saw something on Instagram, and it reminded me of us. I think it's like a relationshipy thing, but who cares about whether it's romantic or platonic. But it's like, 3 things that are great for relationships. One of the things was authenticity wins. In a relationship, roughly, the only thing that matters is if you can be yourself around them. Shared hobbies, attraction, lifestyle alignment is downstream. If you can't be fully yourself around someone, you're either performing or negotiating constantly. And over time, that corrodes everything. True intimacy is being radically unedited and still accepted. The rest is just set design. And I butchered reading that, so I'm just going to put it in the show notes or like on Instagram. We'll put it after, I think.
That's so cool.
My perception of you was very different in like public settings.
Yeah.
And I think like how authentic we can be in front of each other is hysterical to me.
Yeah.
Like, and how quickly we were. And like how when you find your people, like what a gift.
Yeah.
Like not, wow, that got really cheesy really quickly. But it made me think of us, and it made me think of like, that's actually... Like, I wanted to say that as, like, my show and tell. Like, you're my show and tell. Like, our friendship is my show and tell. Yay. Because I read that, and I wasn't like, oh, I want a man I can be authentic with. It was like, oh, I got faith. Actually, like, it goes back to our episode of, like, instructions and probably comparison as well. Like, if you can be fully yourself, they're your people. Like, I'm saying yes to you because I know you, because you've been authentic with me.
Yeah.
So I love how I like said, "Ooh, we're not gonna ramble." Sorry.
That's so cute. I love that. I really do love that. I think it's interesting, like you say, when you find your people, like you do connect quicker because, like, historically, I'm the kind of person that like I can be friends with someone for 3 years and only in like the 3rd year actually be comfortable around them. Like that's been the norm for me. Whereas like that's just not the case in this friendship. I don't know why, but it's just not the case.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened.
Not the
we
situation.
microwaved that. Like
wow.
I
Yeah, we
didn't even
did.
know.
Yeah, we did.
That's cute. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
My
the
suspense is built. I am so stressed. I might be just swearing.
Okay. So my show and tell is actually a gift for you. So the context is that over the weekend I wasn't feeling 100%. I was just feeling very tired. And I just wanted to do something cute and small. And so, Rach, meet your very own frog. For those of you that are listening, it is a very small crocheted frog. I'm telling the world that I did this, but I made it accessories. Let me show you. So, for context again, amidst all the squeaking.
It's a chocolate
it's got a little bag as well, just in case it needs to go to the shops. Wow, I knew that your reaction was going to be good, but I wasn't expecting this.
Do you know what it is to be thought of? Like, to be thought of and, like, considered. And, like, I'm going to do something for you just because it'll make you smile. And if that's not, like, love, I just don't know what is. Like, this actually might be one of the nicest things anyone's ever done for me.
I mean, come on, it's a crochet frog. I mean...
No, I don't think you understand.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so glad you like it.
I will love you forever.
Cool. So that's our show and tell. That was such a wholesome show and tell. That was so
lovely.
cute. Okay, let's move on to polls. So we've got our polls from episode 3, which was, is it normal to not know when to work versus when to rest? So the question that we asked you guys was, do you find it easier to rest or work? Which do you think people responded most?
I would think it would be easier to rest.
Interesting. So the 3 options, I should say, were rest, work, and I have a good balance.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's got a good balance.
No one said. No one said they got a good balance.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. 75% of people said work. They find it easier to work.
Interesting.
25% of people said rest.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. So quite a clear, obviously quite a clear majority. Easier to work. No one has balance. So, again, is it normal? Yeah. The polls say yes.
We're really like a workaholic hustle nation, aren't we?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
At least we're all like, the experience is shared, isn't it?
Yeah. I've been informed by Faith's wonderful, lovely husband that I'm no longer allowed to do drum rolls.
On the table.
Yeah, on the table, because I scared him while he was driving. So.
That's so much better anyway. That's so much better. The question for today is it normal to...
be scared of growing old?
Yeah. Thanks. I couldn't remember it.
Senior moment. Ew, pun intended. Just to preface this, we are both in our mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
Just wanted to say that, just in case they thought we were younger than we are. We're probably older. In unison, I love it. Do you ever have conversations or thoughts, or like, does it come up much in your life, thinking about being older or having conversations about growing old?
I would say that it comes up a lot in conversation in terms of like, what does the next, say, 20 years hold? But like, I don't think I've ever really thought much further than that.
Interesting.
Like for myself. So I guess in that way, there is like conversations about what it looks like to grow older, as into what does it look like life stages, to have a family, to whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
those more upcoming milestones, rather than like, I'm not really thinking about, oh, what if my kids move out? Because like, I haven't even got kids yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What about you?
Yeah, I guess it's always like natural and normal to think about like the next stage of life, but like I think I look at like my grandparents, or like, and I think I wonder what I'll be like in their position. And I think growing older can be physically, what does that look like? What does it look like to, have wrinkles and grey hair, and am I someone who will grow old gracefully, and what does that term even mean? What will my character be like when I'm that age? Will I be like a grumpy old lady shouting at kids to get off the grass? Yeah. Most likely. Or will I be like a jolly old, soul making apple pies in the kitchen?
Those are the 2 options. So.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Either or. Knowing my personality now, both. so like sort of physically, like health wise, because I think sometimes I'll just be doing something or having a conversation with someone, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, you know, my eyesight was perfect, but then last year I had, I don't know, like a cataract, I don't know, you know, like, and they'll be like, oh, now I can't really see, or like, I know they're fairly young, I'm like, oh, I forget that I'm not always going to have the body that I currently got, or the health that I've currently got.
Yeah.
So being really mindful of that is really interesting, and also a bit scary. So yeah, so looks wise, health wise, character wise, also like family wise. So like, will I have a family? What will my family look like? Who will I be taking care of, or who will be taking care of me? Or, you know, can I even accept help when it comes to being taken care of? Will I have achieved things that I want to achieve, and I don't really have any things I want to achieve? But like, yeah, my biggest worry is, would I have wasted my life? I don't want to be 90 thinking, well, that was a waste of time.
Yep.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, thanks for listening, guys.
That's all, folks.
No, it's interesting.
But I think about it a lot, I guess. Then,
yeah,
actually.
that's the conclusion, isn't it?
I wouldn't have thought I would have. But I think I have.
Yeah. That's interesting though, because I feel like I feel like this is maybe one where we're actually quite different, because I think every now and again I have like a realization of like, oh, I'm not always going to be in my 20s, and then I'm like, meh, okay, we'll get there when we get there, kind of thing. Like I'm not, like I said, more so it's more so for me about like, when do I start the next stage of life? And that's kind of a weird thing, because I know we talked about it before, but like, when you're an adult, you have to choose when you enter the next stage of life, right? In terms of major milestones like having a family or changing careers or moving or whatever. Whereas a lot of those are built in when you're younger. But I don't think I really think about like, oh, what am I going to be like when I'm 80? I don't think I've ever really thought about that. Like I was saying, every now and again I get like a realization of like, oh, one day I'll be 80. But it feels so abstract to me. Yeah. That I don't really feel like I don't have any reference point for that. And there's so many like things that could happen between now and then that I just can't really get my head around it, and I'm like, meh, I don't know. Yeah.
Which is probably quite healthy compared to, well, you don't need to compare. So when you think of the future, you literally only think next steps.
Not like literal next step as in like the first,
so like next 5, 10, but like 15 years. Yeah,
next kind of, because there's like, it's figuring out the order that stuff happens in, isn't it? It's deciding when certain things happen or whatever.
Whereas I think I'm someone who kind of, I don't actually like plan my next step. Stuff will come along and I decide if I want it or not. It's like the current job I'm in. Someone said, oh, you should go for this job, here you go. I was like, I'll have a look. Went for an interview. Was like, actually I want this job. Yeah. Got the job. And I was like excited about it, so I was like, I went with my gut. I was like, yeah, this is for me. I'm happy to leave the career I was in to go and do this. Yeah. Like there was a pay cut, there was, you know, things, but I was like, no, this is what suits my next stage of life. Yeah. So I went from shift work to like 9 to 5 and that kind of thing. And I went with my gut. So I'm someone who, when stuff happens, I'm probably more like, cool, I'm going to jump on this. Or like, that's not for me, I'll let it pass. Yeah. Whereas, so if you said to me like, hey Rach, what's the next year look like? Oop. Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you a single thing of what my life will look like next year. Yeah. I might have some like hazy ideas. Yeah. I literally walked into the room today. I was like, Faith, I'm buying chickens. I'm gonna put chickens in my garden because I want a small holding. I can't, you know, like I don't have money for land, so I'm having chickens in the back garden. So yeah, you know, that might come to fruition. It might not, but yeah, I could be living abroad. I could be changing career again. I could be with someone. I could be, you know, on my own. I could be fostering. I could be
who knows,
in grief. Like I could be moving into support someone who I love who's really ill. Like I actually just don't know, and I'm quite comfortable with that most of the time. So I think it's interesting that I think probably a lot further because I want to check in with my 80-year-old self and be like, hey Rach, are we doing enough to make sure future me is the best version of me we can be? So like, yeah, so I think I almost check in with a future self, not like necessarily in a conscious way, but ever like are we living life to the fullest?
Yeah.
Or to the best of our ability with what we've got at the moment?
Yeah.
And if not, should we change something?
Yeah.
So I'll have them conversations with myself.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, oh, in 5 years I want to, or I have no idea what my next stage is. No idea. I don't know if that comes from being single, because obviously it's you know, KISSING, first came love, second came marriage, third came a baby in the golden carriage. But like, if I don't have love or marriage or baby, then I'm like, oh, I don't know what society like. So I haven't got a societal view of what my future is going to be.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I guess I'll just do whatever I want.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess maybe that's the difference. Maybe that's part of the reason for our difference in thinking. Because, like, for me, like, me and my husband are settled. We've got friends that are having babies. Like, that's very much, like, a lot of the other couples that we are around. That's the kind of stage of life they're moving into or are already in. And so in the same way that when all your friends start getting partners, or when your friends start going to uni or moving abroad or whatever, that raises the question of like, do I want to do that?
Yeah.
And if I do, when? And what does that look like? And whatever. So I think maybe I feel more like, because we are more traditionally in that first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes a baby. Like, do you know what I mean? There's more of that narrative that kind of seems to be playing itself out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then it becomes like, oh, do I want that or not? Whereas I think if you're outside of that structure, you kind of do have to take it as it comes a little bit more, because there are more options potentially. Because also,
so many options.
Like, obviously in a marriage, you have to consider, or a relationship, like you have to consider what the other person, like how your actions affect the other person. And I'm not saying that people that are single don't have to consider how their actions affect other people, but it's different.
What about when it comes to like looks and physical stuff? Do you feel that like you're changing, or do you feel like you'd cope well with changes, or like how do you feel about that? So for example, in the job I used to work in, it was mostly like young women were in that sort of profession, and a lot of them would be like getting Botox and lip filler and just sort of injections, like getting rid of crow's feet or whatever it may be, wrinkles, that sort of thing. Well, they didn't have wrinkles because they were under 25, most of them, but they were taking, like, I would call it fairly not drastic, but they were taking measures to prevent themselves from looking older, and they were under 25. So I just wonder, like, how that then plays out in the bigger picture of getting older, like, and as a society, you know, everything we're thrown at is, oh, if you are over 25, you should be using retinol daily, and like, you know, this is how you should like put your skincare in. And I'm like, are we just made to feel so insecure so that the beauty industry can grow and make its billions off our insecurities? And what does it look like to grow old sort of gracefully, is that like cliche sort of sentence saying? How do you think, like, have you noticed any changes to your body, or would you think of yourself as someone who doesn't care what they look like when they grow older, or do you think it'll like, is that aspect, because obviously the topic is, you know, what we're scared about growing older. Does that induce any like sort of fear, or like, ooh, what am I gonna, you know, I'm gonna get saggy, I'm gonna get wrinkly, or I'm gonna get, or I guess you just not think about it? Cause
I don't think I've thought about it loads, but when I do think about it, this might sound really weird, I love it when a woman just has grey hair. Like, I think that's so cool. Like, I think that's really like, also totally get it if you dye your hair. Like, each to their own.
Yeah.
I just personally think it's a cool decision to keep your natural hair.
And I don't understand why that's negative.
It's a sign of aging, isn't it? People want to pretend they're not aging.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, yeah.
Because, like, anti-wrinkle, anti-aging, all this stuff is about retaining your youth, isn't it? I think...
Tangled.
Yeah.
We watched it the other day with Joss.
I think I wouldn't say I'm necessarily scared about it. I think I would say I'm more curious. As in, like, I'm interested to see what that will look like. I don't really know. I think partly I love the women in my life. And they are all different ages. You know, like, I love my nan, I loved my gran, I love my mum, I love my mum-in-law. Like, do you know what I mean? There's so many people that are older than me that I really, really treasure, and they all are aging in different ways. And the way that is playing out looks different. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying those people are old, I'm saying those people are older than me. Because even, like, I've got friends that are 5 to 10 years older than me, that even that is interesting, watching them go through that next stage of life when I haven't quite got there yet, and seeing how that affects the way they feel about themselves, and do you know what I mean, different stages of life affecting your body and stuff like that. I think it's just so hard to predict what that looks like.
I think I saw this thing a while ago that was like, all the parts of our faces come from someone. Like, they are our ancestors or our generations above us. So I might have, like, a crooked nose, but that was my great-grandmother's. And I might have, you know, the colour of my eyes I complain about, but they're actually my dad's. And, and, like, when they've passed away, when I look at myself in the mirror, I can see them. And, like, that we're just an amalgamation of the people that came before us. And I think when you flip that, you're like, oh, what a privilege to grow old. Like, you know, I've had a grief in my family recently, and, like, what a privilege it is to grow old, that a lot of people don't get. And I think, like, not taking that for granted, and taking pride in the fact that, like, I've got grey hair because life has been hard. Like, things have been stressful, but I've gotten through it. Like, I've got resilience. I've met them challenges and I've overcome them. And I think our bodies are just all the different ways that show that we've overcome things. Like, I might have scars, you know, from X, Y, and Z, some accidents or some of this or some of that, and I might have stretch marks from the time that I had this or that, or I was going through this or that, or you know, I might have all these different things, but they're just like like a roadmap of our lives. And I think looking at our bodies in such gratitude of being like, wow, you've really carried me through my life. I'm not going to hate you for groaning under that pressure.
And I think this is where there's a line between being content with who you are and the way that your body is, but choosing to enjoy the process and do something to make you feel more confident, or, like, do you know what I mean? It can be a really positive choice. So, like, dyeing your hair, if actually you just really love the way you look with dark hair or blonde hair or whatever, then why not? Like, sure, your natural hair might be grey, but if actually you want it to be blonde, then go for it. Like, why? Like, that doesn't matter. It does matter, and it doesn't matter.
And, like, you don't have to fit in that box.
No.
So if you want to be 80 with pink hair because you're like, screw the world telling me I have to look like an old woman.
Why not?
Stunning.
And
you do you, babe. Like, I've seen some people online, and, you know, like, outfit of the day and stuff like that, and they're like 80, like 70, 80, banging, looking like, because they know who they are, like, they spend their whole lives learning themselves, and they have great fashion, and they're like da-da-da, and there's this like older woman, and she, like, goes on dates, and she's, like, picking out her lipstick, and she's like, will I kiss him? I don't know. Like, I just, like, she's so funny. And, like, I think whatever it is, you just don't have to fit into the box that society wants you to be in, whether that's I want to grow old and I want to look like I've got grey hair and, like, I've been through, you know, what I've been through, and I want to enjoy that, I want to wear comfortable things, and I want to love that process of being allowed to be who I am, or whether it's you want to wear powerful blazers and be old and powerful and like own your sexuality as a 70, 80, 90-year-old, like amazing, go do that. Like do whatever you want. That doesn't have to, like, you just don't have to fit into this like box that society has put women, especially older women, in. And I think, like, you know, it is hard to grow old and not receive the attention you might have when you were younger, or not to be able to do the things your body could when you were younger. Like there is a lot of grief, I think, with that comes with growing older. You have to grieve a lot of what you had in your youth, or what you looked like in your youth, or the opportunities of your youth. But there's also so much grace and strength and beauty that comes from being able to pull on your past experiences and being able to share that with the generation 100%. That comes after you. Like what a glorifying thing to do, to be able to share wisdom that you fought really hard to get.
And I think so there's that positive choice, isn't there, to like do what you want regardless. I think for me that's where it matters, where when we're talking about like dyeing hair or literally anything. I know we're talking about like Botox and stuff that's to do with aging, wanting to not age, but also like what clothes you wear, like it works across everything. If it comes from a place of insecurity and a place of anxiety of I need to be something that I'm not, there's something wrong with the way I am right now, and I'm trying to achieve security, I'm trying to achieve love or worth by changing that, I think that's where I'm nervous about it. Do you know what I mean? Like if there's a point where I decide, you know what, actually I would like to get a filler or whatever, it would the like whether that's okay or not in my head for me personally would be to do with what's the reason, what's the root cause. In the same way that would be the same thing for me when it comes to literally dyeing my hair. Am I dyeing my hair because I think that I'm not acceptable with my normal brown hair? If the answer is no, I just want to have some fun and dye my hair, then cool. Like, do you know what I mean? It's about where you're putting that worth. And because I think it's so tricky, isn't it? Because like we're talking about people, again, that positive choice, people choosing to dye their grey hair pink or whatever and go for it. That's fine. That's really cool. Like, yeah, go for it. Equally, if when you become a mother you want to wear cute motherly clothes and you want to fully lean into that, also fine. Do you know what I mean? It's like going against the flow isn't right and therefore going with the flow is wrong, and going with the flow isn't necessarily right and then going against the flow is wrong. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's literally up to you. Do you know what's
really interesting? I watched a TV show called Grace and Frankie, and it's about like two older women, and one of them's like kind of more like hippie vibe, like lives on the beach, like very free-spirited artist, and the other one's more like rigid, owns a beauty company, like very put together in the way that she appears, always has makeup, no one's ever seen her without it, doing that kind of thing. And I think they're like in the show, I think they're maybe like 60 or 70 maybe, and basically both their husbands run off together and they end up having to live in this sort of beach house. Don't want to give any spoilers, so mute here. But they end up, I think there's a lot of seasons, but I think the first one is that basically they start creating like sex toys for women with arthritis, to make it like easier to pleasure themselves, that kind of thing. Like I think that's the basis of what I could be getting this so wrong. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Anyway, so Jane Fonda's like a really famous actress and woman. She did a video recently, she released it, I'll put it in the show notes description, about how you can add like 7 years to your life by having like community and joy and doing new activities. It reminded me of a study that I heard about, I think it was done by like Harvard University, and so it's like spanned over years and years and years of people's lives. The longest study that's been done on sort of adult human lives. Oh, wow. And they found that basically the strongest relationships are the key to happiness and longevity. So it's kind of like a longevity, like how does diet, smoking, affect like your life and stuff. Because that's nuts. It began in 1938, the study.
Oh my gosh.
And tracked like the lives of hundreds of participants.
Yeah.
And basically it showed that the way to prolong your life, the best thing for longevity in life is deep and meaningful relationships. People who crochet frogs, for example. But yeah, people with like them kind of connections are happier, healthier, and they live longer. I want to read some stuff to you. Sorry if this is boring, but I find it really interesting.
Yeah.
So the key findings, basically relationships are paramount. So the study consistently showed that the close relationships are more important for happiness and well-being than factors like wealth, fame, or career or success, which is nuts to me. And also, like, you can't buy health. Like, I know you can, you know, as in you can buy organic food, you can buy vitamins, and you can buy, what are people doing, like, them chambers these days, or, you know, whatever it might be. Like, you actually can't guarantee, you know, it can be the fittest footballer and you die on a pitch from a heart attack, like, because you had a congenitive heart condition you didn't know about. Anyway, loneliness is detrimental. So individuals who feel lonely experience negative consequences for their health and happiness, including increased risk of cognitive decline and a shorter lifespan. Marital satisfaction matters. So strong marital relationships have a protective effect on mental health and overall well-being. Which I guess, you know, makes sense, doesn't it? Because it's deep relationships. Positive relationships foster resilience. So strong connections provide a buffer against life's challenges and help individuals cope with stress and adversity. And social connections are as important as physical health. The study highlights the importance of social connections or social fitness in maintaining overall health and well-being. And the study suggested that it's never too late to cultivate strong relationships and improves one's well-being. So in this Jane Fonda video, it sort of shows, like, you know, going to art classes, doing art classes, and meeting people and having them connections. It's just crazy to think that's what we're built for. Like, it just doesn't matter what you look like, what you wear, where you go, like, that actually the thing that will make your life longer, healthier and happier is having good, deep, meaningful relationships. And like, what a beautiful thing to strive towards. Like, and yes, I'm striving towards doing a pull-up so that if I fall on the floor as an older person, I can get myself up. Like, genuinely, that's one of the reasons I go to the gym. I get to that stage and age of life. I actually have the muscle memory and the ability to, with strength training, to be able to pull myself up on the floor if I get injured, or, do you know what I mean, that kind of thing.
Functional fitness.
Functional fitness. So I guess I do think about it a lot. Point being is that, so yeah, maybe we don't know what, you know, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years will look like in the future, but I think that my character is one of the things that I always come back to and think about, because I'm like, that's gonna be with me for my life. And that fosters good relationships, and good relationships foster happiness, and happiness fosters health, and health, you know, prolongs it.
How beautiful then that that not only is community good for you, but you're good for community. Like, it goes both ways, doesn't it? So, like, how beautiful that in putting effort into fostering relationships with people, because it prolongs life. Do you know what I mean? My life, your life. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, when you're in deep relationships with people, you're benefiting them, like, long term. Whether you see that or not, how beautiful that we get to invest in that day to day now. In the same way that, you know, I guess investing in your health now is it's an investment into your future, and therefore the people around you's future, because obviously then it makes you able and capable and everything. But I think that's it's a really beautiful thing that we get to invest in different ways into the future, not just for us but for people around us too.
I think, like, obviously when it comes to health or the healthcare system, like, you know, we are prolonging lives significantly compared to what we would have been, you know, like, say 100 years ago, whatever it may be. So I think for me that, like, quality over quantity thing is really important. I want to be as healthy as I can be for as long as I can be, because I don't want to watch myself slowly die. which I know might be like, it's obviously a really sensitive subject, and I'm not in that position at the moment, so I can't really give, you know, it's not, I might change my mind when I'm older.
Yeah.
And I might want to live for as long as I possibly can, regardless of the condition I'm in.
Also, you're expressing an ideal, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's like, as in, ideally,
Yes.
this would be what I would like.
Yeah.
It's the same with like, that's not the same, but I guess it feels similar to me when it comes to like, you can have a birth plan.
Yeah.
Or no, they don't call it a birth plan anymore, do they? They call it a birth preference.
Oh, do they?
Like, I think so. I don't know. All my friends that have children, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's a thing, because
that's
plan
really good
is
mindset,
too
actually.
like
Yeah,
constricted.
Really yeah.
Because a preference is like acknowledging stuff might just happen,
And like you can plan
else.
for the preference.
Yeah. The preference is what your ideally. That's what your preference would be. That's what you would like it to look like. Completely acknowledging the massive caveat that stuff happens, and that might not look.
Yeah.
It might not look the ideal way. So I guess I'm trying to say that, you know, in saying in kind of highlighting quality of life, it's like that's the ideal. That's what we're striving for at this point.
That really difficult balance of living for the now versus living for the future. A good example, pension.
Yeah.
So I put, like, my pension gets taken out automatically. It's a lot of money a month. And I'm like, like, should I just take that out and live now? For like, live for me, like now? Because I might not even make it to, what I mean, I'm going to be working to what? I'm like 82. Yeah. Like, so I'm not going to be able to retire in the French Riviera because I'll still be working. Yeah. So actually, should I just enjoy it now and go on some great holidays or buy some land? Or do you mean... can't afford land. I don't know why it's just the topic of the week. But like, and health wise, like, you know, when you're young and maybe not as wise, you're doing things to your body that might not be as wise, but you're having a lot of fun doing it. And like it's like that really difficult balance of living for now, because I might not get a future actually, versus like setting up a really good, like, even like investing, like in any, well, firstly in anything, but also like actually investing, like, I don't know, Bitcoin or what. I'm not really an investor, I can't tell you. But
finances, money, I don't
know. That thing, that coin, I don't know.
Banks, I think.
Like, do I invest that now so that I've got in 10, 20 years a bit of passive income from that? But what if I don't make it to 20 years? And what, I could use that now for something. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's really hard to get. Do you find that hard, the balance between living in the now versus protecting your future?
Yeah, I think so. I think I often think about these things. I'm like, oh, I should like actually learn about my pension and like make an active decision about it rather than just the default whatever, and I just forget. And
I'm just like,
I'm just like, oh, I don't know,
I've got too much to do now.
No, I do think I know we keep coming back to just it's all about balance, but I think it is.
Well,
I think
literally
it's about
every
balance.
episode.
I think it is about balance, because there's got to be wisdom in thinking about the future and planning, like not being completely oblivious to the reality of what your future could look like. At the same time, what's the point of you can't live in the future? Do you know? Because like the Bible talks about not worrying about tomorrow, because tomorrow will worry about itself. There's enough worries in today to deal with like here and now. And
it also says like worrying doesn't add an hour to your life. Like, actually, what is the benefit?
And so I think like you can't live in the future, you can't live in the anxiety of you shouldn't, it's not ideal to live in the anxiety of what the future could look like, and like this is like pure cheese, but like life is a gift. Like each day is a gift, isn't it? That's why they call it the present. I think that's from Kung Fu Panda.
I'm pretty sure it existed before Kung Fu Panda.
Okay, well, I know it from Kung Fu Panda. Can I tangent? Are you good for me to tangent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay, cool.
Honey, It wouldn't be our podcast
It's all a tangent,
if there wasn't a
isn't it?
tangent. I think we've got a strict guideline.
So I'm reading a book. It's called 4,000 Weeks. And the little tagline is, it's something like time management for mortals or something like that. I've only read like one chapter, so if I absolutely like
Butcher
this whole thing, I'm sorry. I'll report back when I finished it. But
that might take 4,000 weeks.
it might, yeah.
Due to the fact we've got 7 other books on the go.
Probably more than that. And it's called 4,000 Weeks because that's on average how many weeks you have in like an average lifetime. So clocks are an invention, right? It's talking about how like our concept of time and the way that we think about time and how we perceive the future and the past is a construct because of the way that we understand like hours, seconds, minutes. Do you know what I mean? Before they had clocks and before they knew what time was in that measured way, they just lived each day intuitively. So work days would be shorter in the winter, longer in the summer, because that's the way, that's the rhythms of like creation, right? But he was talking about how it's quite a modern view of life to assume that as society progresses, as society moves forward into the future, it also progresses. It becomes more technical, it advances. And therefore everything should get better. That's a very modern way of thinking. People lived in the repetitive rhythms of seasons, of days, of years, because even years, that's a concept. At that time, you would work until the jobs were done. Yeah. But the jobs never exceeded the time that you had because the jobs each day were spread out evenly, because so he's talking about, you know, like how people, me included, like batch cook at the start of the week to like last for the whole week, to essentially for the sake of saving time. They couldn't do that if you're like a farmer back in the day. It's like I can't milk the cows for 6 months and then as in one day I can't milk the cows 6 months worth, because that's not how the natural rhythms of the world work. And I just find it so, like, I'm excited to read the rest of the book and actually learn what he's actually saying. But like it's really helpful in terms of thinking about this idea of like spending time when time itself is like a constructed way of thinking about life. So I think his point is about taking away some of that like urgency and that pressure to make the most of every second, every minute, every day, and almost instill more of that like rhythm of life where days happen and you're not worried about time passing because you're almost not tracking it in the same way. Back in the day, I'm saying back in the day because I don't know when it is. I don't know what we're talking about here. Again, my concept of time is not ideal.
Time's a construct, don't worry about it. It's all made up.
Because they didn't have this modern view of the world that the future means progression. They saw stuff as more like cyclical. There's also an assumption that like life is cyclical. Yeah. So your experience of the world is the same as your ancestors' experience of the world, is the same as your 5 generations down the line from you, their experience of the world. And you're just one of taking up that space. Do you see what I'm saying? Rather than like, I think we feel a pressure to like improve and make the most of it and almost like set the scene for the next generation. Whereas they were like, every human is going to have the same experience because life is cyclical, because the seasons are cyclical, because days are cyclical, because these tasks are cyclical. And I just think that's so interesting, and how I'm like in full on tangent mode. How interesting then that nature is so good for us. Like there's proven health benefits to being connected to the natural world. And I wonder if that's just because it instills this rhythm that's outside of us and outside of like our technological age and all that kind of stuff. And I often think about it again in the Bible. a lot of the picture language that's used is to do with things that take time, seeds that grow, things that bear fruit. Like, you cannot force an apple tree to bear fruit. It takes the time it takes. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really like helpful then when we're thinking about the future, when we get old, or when we get older. Old isn't a destination, is it?
God, I thought 20 was old when I was a kid.
I know, right? Yeah. But like, we're like, because I totally agree with you. I can't wait to know what 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, I don't know how old I'm going to get, but however old I get, I'm so excited to find out what I know at that point. Like, what wisdom have I gained? What experiences have I had? And a lot of that is fruit. And that is going to take time. And you can't fake that, can you? You can't force that.
And also, like, you know, you see like videos of like, 30 things I wish I knew when I was 30, or like all that kind of stuff. I'm like, yes, I can see that, I can read that, I can take that on board, but I haven't experienced it, and that's probably not going to have actually an effect on my life. Like, some stuff you just have to experience yourself to learn from. And that takes time and pain and growth and learning and knowing. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that maybe some of our fear of growing old, or our reluctance to grow old, maybe, is more connected with the way that we perceive time and the way that our society perceives time, and actually shifting our understanding of that and shifting our mindset of that, and kind of connecting with those more natural rhythms that the earth goes through, just kind of shows us another side to it that isn't about that doesn't see growing older as like a decline or a negative thing or whatever. Because, like, have you ever seen flipping massive trees that are really, really old and are absolutely beautiful? And they wouldn't be that like majestic and beautiful if provide
it hadn't
shelter
grown that much.
And provide, you know, for woodland creatures, or literal shelter, or like whatever fruits or nuts or whatever they might bear, or just the beauty of them, or like the climate. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so much that a tree can provide, and the older it gets, the better it gets.
I guess we're just recognizing that there are things that happen around us in the natural world that kind of prove that aging is just a process, and there doesn't have to be negative connotations.
Like, we can't prevent growing older. Like, it is something that will happen. So you either accept it and you prepare for it in like a healthy way,
and you embrace it.
Because actually life is going to happen to you, and it's the attitude that you accept that stuff with, isn't it? So I can accept an attitude of like, I'm grateful I get to grow older today, or like, I'm grateful I learned that thing even though there was a lot of pain along the way, or there's a lot of beauty in it. I think it's accepting that as humans we are limited, aren't we? Like you're saying, we don't have control over aging. We're not like all powerful. Similar to what we've been talking about earlier, we don't have control over our health, and that's not strictly age related, that's in general. And actually I do think we're like, in our society at the moment, we're almost trying to fight against that and like almost pretend that we are limitless when we just really aren't. Actually, maybe we were just made to toil the ground, like, and take, 4 hours to make a stew in the evening for our family in the community, and look, we haven't even got to looking after our elders. Like, there are so many communities that do such a good job of looking after their elders, and we haven't even got there. And I think one thing we've learned doing this podcast is that topics are really, really big and we're really, really small. And we don't have the time, ironically, to like talk about all the stuff we want to talk about. So it is these are just like taster topics.
And start our conversations.
Right? Like, just to make us think. It's just interesting. Like, curiosity keeps our minds young. And, us establishing a relationship, apparently it'll make us live longer. So
Win.
what up?
Love that.
Hey! So make frogs for the people you love. Honestly.
I think ideally, I'm going to speak for us in this scenario, part of our heart for this podcast is that it does start conversations with people. I know that I've had some really interesting conversations with people off the back of them listening, which is really cool. But I also hope that we also hope that it starts conversations as you listen, and then you start to talk to other people about it. And in that way those relationships develop, and we get closer, and
there's depth.
We actually like see and hear each other more clearly.
Because we do want to help with the loneliness of it. Like loneliness is a killer in so many different ways. Yeah. And I think like we just want people to know they're not alone in the figuring out what's normal and what's not of life. Yeah.
I think we should put a little caveat on the end here to recognise that like we are both young. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that we talked about, we are talking very hypothetically because we haven't experienced it at this point.
Like I was having a conversation on a park bench the other day with someone who's like a frontline paramedic, and there was a bunch of women who ran past who were 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and he was like, oh, that's so beautiful to see, because the people I always go to are someone who's fallen, they've got a broken hip, so there's always like, you know, it's really tragic stories, and he was like, oh, it's so nice to see that there is that other side. And I think so the caveat of we're talking about what we're seeing, and this is a much broader topic, and we are not experts on it, and we did not talk about it before we started talking, which maybe we should do. And we did not have any things we wanted to hit on exactly, but
it's just a conversation.
It's just a conversation.
Just to start a conversation.
Just to start a conversation. Yeah. Hopefully it's the start of conversations between you and your acquaintances, your friends, your families, your loved ones.
Yeah. Definitely.
Sometimes some things are worth thinking about.
Yeah, and if there are any topics that you think would be really good for us to chat about, please do let us know. You can email us at theisitnormalpodcast@gmail.com. You can also message us on Instagram or TikTok. Again, at theisitnormalpodcast. If you are going to send us a message, make sure you let us know if you'd rather be anonymous or if you'd like us to give you a little shout out to our 3 listeners. Shout out. We're happy to do either. And also like they can be like topics for an episode. Or they could be like little fun ones that you've thought about, little questions.
So we had one this week. Is it normal to have a spare pair of tweezers in the car for the chin hairs?
I love that. So real.
I think it fits in really well to this episode. And I totally think that's normal. And if you don't know what we're on about, don't worry, because you're still young. I didn't think chin hairs was something I had to worry about until I was like 50. Turns out I was a little wrong. It's something I have a pair of tweezers in the car. So to that listener, you're not alone, babe. And none of you are. And you are normal, because no one is.
Literally no one.
And we love it that you're here.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. Oh!